Humans have long been fascinated with dissecting animals, and despite our extensive history of exploration inside these creatures, surprises still await. From a creature capable of swallowing a man whole to a small fish that brought down a massive shark, here are the 20 strangest things ever discovered inside animals. Number 20. Fisherman finds an unopened bottle of whiskey inside a fish. Do you want to have a nice glass of whiskey? Just go fishing. As it turns out, this statement may not be as far-fetched as it seems. A fisherman knows that going out into the sea for a daily catch might not yield the same results every time, and this time a man ended up with much more than what he had bargained for. Not just a nice, yummy fish, but also a whole unopened bottle of liquor. While this video began on a mundane note, just a young fisherman filleting a fish on a table and showing off his amazing knife skills, things got truly interesting when he started to clean the insides of the creature. He noticed something hard inside the fish, and as you all know, fish bones are not that hard usually. So, he got curiouser and curiouser until he pulled out the unusual object. It was an unopened bottle of Fireball cinnamon whiskey. He was thrilled, to say the least, so much so that he shouted jackpot in excitement. There are only two explanations for this bizarre find. Either someone lost a bottle of liquor somewhere, and it ended up in the water where the fish confused it for a snack, or this fish had big plans for that evening and was on its way to a super cool party. I don't know about you, but I prefer the latter. Number 19. Scientists just discovered a new species of ant in frog vomit. No, this isn't a teaser for the next Alien movie. It's actually a newly discovered species of ant. Every year, experts locate thousands of new animals and plants in the most remote places on the planet, places as hidden and dark as the stomach of a poisonous frog. Although it may seem incredible, this has been the place where a new species of ant has been discovered, the stomach of an Oophaga sylvatica frog, known in South America as Kiki or Diablito, which means little devil. To be more precise, the discovery did not occur in the devil's stomach, but in the stomach fluids carefully extracted by scientists without killing the frog to better understand the life and customs of this tropical amphibian. One of the most obvious features is its forceps-shaped jaws, which suggests that it's an ant with considerable strength. But at the moment, no further details have been possible because they've only been able to obtain and analyze one specimen of this new species. The ant was scientifically baptized with the surname of the well-known German biologist Bert Holdobler. The intervened frog in which the new ant was found, classified with the scientific name Linomyrmex holdobleri, lives in a mountainous area of northwestern Ecuador. Number 18. Python swallows and then vomits whole pet cat in Thailand. Of the many things you have to worry about when you have a pet cat, maybe it being swallowed whole by a hungry python isn't up there on your list. But if you live in Bangkok, it might very well be. Sawark Tyrone, 59, saw the 5-meter-long snake slither into her house in Pathum Thani in northern metropolitan Bangkok. The reptile was hungry and hunting for prey, and it deemed Karen's cat, Bobo, a pretty yummy-looking snack. Apparently, after it swallowed the poor kitty whole, the python looked for a dark and quiet place to digest its meal in peace and opted for the little cupboard under the sink. After seeing this, Sharon called the Kubang Wong police and wildlife control officers, who came immediately to the rescue of poor Bobo. In this video, you can see the authorities moving the reptile around the patio in order to prompt it to regurgitate the feline. Thankfully, it worked, but sadly, Bobo didn't make it alive. He had spent too much time without oxygen inside the snake's stomach. Tyrone buried her beloved pet, and the python was released into the wild by the officers. Number 17. Puppy saved after swallowing toy arrow a foot long. This adorable 12-week-old puppy found herself in need of life-saving surgery after she swallowed a toy arrow that was almost as long as her own body. Lola, a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, had her owners worried sick. At first, they thought she had gulped down a pen, but later, to their terror, realized it was a 12-inch projectile toy. Luke Ponter, Lola's dad, noticed that she was choking after he had given her breakfast. He thought nothing of it and took the kids to school, but when he came back, he saw that his puppy was in very bad shape and couldn't breathe. He had to act immediately. The vets at the animal hospital had to remove the arrow, which was very tricky business as it had lodged in her stomach and gastrointestinal tract. Veterinary nurse Jane Lewis said that they had never seen such a large foreign body inside an animal before. The surgery was hard and required a lot of skill and delicacy from the surgeons, but it was an absolute success in the end. Lola is now recovering like a champ, and she's been prescribed lots of rest and lots of cuddles. If her dad wouldn't have reacted so quickly, she wouldn't have survived. Number 16. 5,000-year-old arrowhead found in 750-pound alligator stomach. Priceless historical objects have been found in the stomach of a 13-foot, 5-inch-long alligator hunted in Mississippi, in the United States. After capturing the huge reptile weighing more than 750 pounds, Hunter John Hamilton took it to Shane's Red Antler processing plant in Yazoo City to have it dissected, but they had no idea what was hiding inside the predator's stomach. An arrowhead was found and a plummet, which is a heavy teardrop-shaped instrument that historians say was used by Native Americans thousands of years ago. Shane Smith, the owner of the plant, speculated at first that the reptile may have eaten an arrow that someone had shot at it. But then he thought it was probably something that was lying around, and the gator ate it in an attempt to aid his digestion. These animals sometimes swallow stones to break up the hardest pieces of the bones that they ingest. The arrowhead is estimated to have belonged to a primitive weapon, probably 5,000 to 6,000 years old, while the plummet dates back to around 1700 BC. This is a once-in-a-lifetime find, that's for sure. This gator was walking around with history inside his belly and didn't even know about it. Number 15. Fisherman surprised to find a hefty orange vibrator in the belly of a cod he was gutting. Norwegian fisherman Bjorn Freland doesn't believe his curious find, but he seems sort of delighted by it. Bjorn, 64, was fishing like every day on the west coast of Norway. However, that day was not going to be just any day since he caught a cod that kept a 16-centimeter rubber vibrator in motion inside it. Yeah, you heard that right, the sex toy's batteries were still working in the fish's stomach. Imagine how funky this poor cod must have felt, shaking all over the ocean. The fisherman pointed out to the local press that the cod probably confused the vibrator with a squid and therefore swallowed it. He also points to the cruise ships that border Norway as the main parties responsible for this hilarious situation. His unusual discovery is impossible to be repeated, he claims. He thinks there's a better chance of a meteorite falling on someone's head than something like this ever happening again. But the question begs to be asked, what were the passengers of the cruise doing for a vibrator to fall overboard? They were either having the time of their lives or the complete opposite, nothing in between. Number 14. This Mako shark had a sea lion's head in its stomach. What would you say that one of the world's record-breaking largest Mako sharks eats? Well, a whole sea lion, apparently. From the coast of California, we give you a 1,323-pound giant. This extraordinarily huge Mako shark was caught by 3 fishermen in June 2013 as part of a TV reality show. The catch was legal but quite controversial amongst viewers, and as it turned out, the specimen had some potential scientific benefit. So much so that the predator's gigantic stomach was transferred to a research station run by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in San Diego to study its contents. This curious animal had the entire scientific community on the edge of their seats for quite some time, digging through the partially digested remains of its meals. Gross, might I note. It gave the marine biologists a pretty clear insight into the inner workings of the ocean food webs, and honestly, it's also pretty cool as well. But watching biologist Antonella Preti digging through the shark's lunch while eating her own is something out of the ordinary, that's for sure. Sea lions are often attacked by Mako sharks, and some even survive, not this poor devil though. The wounds of the digested sea lion will provide important information about the shark bite effect. Number 13. Dog breaks into bedroom drawer and steals dentures. This confused dog owner was left in stitches after she discovered that her mischievous yet adorable little puppy was wearing false teeth. The hilarious pooch is called Milo, the Jackapoo, and he was caught on camera with a very goofy grin courtesy of his human grandmother's dentures, after somehow breaking into her bedroom drawer. The 8-month-old puppy certainly looks very pleased with himself, while his owner, Stacey Owen from Wales, can hardly hold the phone up due to her uncontrollable laughter. The scruffy mutt refused to give the dentures back, as he probably thinks they look very trendy and fashionable. Stacey claims that Milo had recently learned how to open drawers and was causing total mayhem at the Owen household. This particular day, Milo went quiet, which for a puppy is not really common, and she wondered what he was up to, only to discover the hilarious scene. Well, I think Grandma needs a new set of false teeth because Milo is clearly claiming ownership of this one. I can only imagine what he'll do next. What an eccentric little pooch. Number 12. Yemeni fishermen find 1.1 million pounds of vomit gold in sperm whale carcass. A group of fishermen have lifted themselves out of poverty after finding a treasure inside the carcass of a sperm whale. They opened a whale and you won't believe what they found inside. The 1.5 million pounds of ambergris discovered is like solid whale vomit that's used in the making of perfumes. The group of 35 fishermen in the southern province of Aden spotted a sperm whale carcass floating in the Gulf of Aden before dragging it to shore in a small boat. As soon as they got close to it, there was a strong smell, and they even thought that this whale had a very nasty disease. The smell was terrible and nauseating, but as it turns out, it's worth a lot of money. Ambergris, known as vomit gold or floating gold, forms within the intestines of sperm whales over many years and is a gray or black waxy substance. It's used in luxury perfumes to preserve the scent. The fisherman agreed to split the profits from the 127-kilogram lump of ambergris before selling it. They all had plans to buy houses or to get married now that they're out of poverty. Some of the money was also given to other people in need in Al-Qaeda village, home to war refugees from the city of Hodeidah. Number 11. Diver survives after being swallowed by humpback whale. Humpback whales are huge, so much so that they can easily swallow an adult human being without any issues at all. This is what happened to Michael Packard, who was swallowed by a humpback whale that later spat him out. The incident occurred when Packard was diving off the coast of the town of Cape Cod, a peninsula located at the eastern end of the coast of the state of Massachusetts. In total, the man spent a few minutes in the whale's mouth before being spat back out, and after that, he only had a dislocated knee. He was on his third lobster dive, swimming like he has for 30 years, when suddenly he was hit by a freight train out of nowhere, and everything went black. A humpback whale can be up to 15 meters long and weigh about 36 tons, so that must have been quite the shock. Took him about 5 seconds to realize he was in the mouth of a whale. Later, the lobster fisherman pointed out that he forced himself to get out. "I tried and tried," he said, but he was unable to move the cetacean's jaws in the slightest. "There's no way out of here unless she lets me go," he thought, terrified. Packard also confessed that at first, he thought he had been swallowed by a shark, but then he found that his predator had no teeth, and he had not felt any cuts. Number 10. Giant catfish trying to eat a turtle. The catfish is one of the most well-known fish in the world. It stands out for its protruding whiskers, similar to those of a cat, hence the name. They're found in large quantities both in the sea and in rivers. These fish have a very peculiar way of communicating with each other. They produce very strange sounds called stridulation. In aquariums, they're used to clean the bottoms since they eat everything they can get, and in this case, a whole turtle. Catfish are legendary. Even dachshunds are said to have been devoured by this gigantic predatory creature. In this case, an American red-eared turtle has become the undoing of a massive catfish. A group of paddlers found the curious scene while they were visiting the Gauding in Kissy. They noticed the predatory fish floating in the bank area, but somehow still alive. As they approached the animal to see what was going on, they realized that the turtle's rear and legs were still protruding from its mouth. The prey and the hunter had started a grim dance of eternal battle. They had already both won and lost simultaneously. The sad part is, without human intervention, they would have both died, so the paddlers went to work immediately and managed to save both. Number 9. Python swallows entire beach towel. You've surely heard of a magician pulling an infinite amount of silk from their sleeve. It's an iconic trick called the Kleenex effect, but have you ever seen a python do it? Well, stick around and you will. This poor devil had swallowed an entire beach towel. The veterinarians in Australia were baffled to see how this unfortunate snake made its clumsy debut in the magic world. It almost killed her. The patient, called Monty Python, is an 18-year-old female pet carpet python, and she had her owners worried sick after they realized she couldn't breathe. They took her to the animal hospital, where they gave her some anesthetic to be able to use a radiograph to confirm the full-size towel was still inside her body. Then they skillfully put an endoscope camera down Monty's throat and used forceps to delicately and carefully grab the tip of the towel and pull it out. The procedure was an absolute success. Monty was even discharged the very same day. The hospital staff called the episode Monty Python and the Missing Beach Towel, in reference to the comedic movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Number 8. Ancient spears found in fish. Do you believe in mermaids? Well, after watching this video, you may become a believer, trust me. Throughout history, people have been finding strange things inside fish and sharks, sometimes fragments of the bizarre skeleton of a half-human, half-aquatic creature, and sometimes ancient spears that look nothing like the ones we use on dry land. These mysterious items could only have been manufactured by a humanoid creature that has opposable thumbs and high intelligence. And as far as we know, such a creature doesn't exist in the depths of the ocean, or does it? Mermaid sightings have been going on for as long as man took to the sea, but now we've also found the weapons they use to catch fish. These ancient spearheads are very sophisticated and seem to have been made out of bone matter. They were found on a shark's side, so maybe the ocean people use them also for self-defense. Hans Bauer, the fisherman that found them, claims that this is not a rare occurrence. They always fish out sharks with spears on their sides in the Baltic Sea. He once also saw a strange creature climbing out of the fishing net and pulling it in. He managed to take a picture of the creature, and it clearly looks like a human with a fishtail. Bauer is convinced that this is the creature responsible for making the spears. What's hiding under there, and why are they hiding from us? Number 7. Crocodile mummy found packed with dozens of smaller crocodile mummies. No, I swear this is not the premise of a new summer horror story. This actually happened in real life, which doesn't make it any less terrifying. A 3D scan of the mummy of an Egyptian crocodile over 2,500 years old has revealed the existence of at least 47 mummified offspring inside the animal's body. The main crocodile, nearly 10 feet long, has been in the National Museum of Antiquities in Leiden, in the Netherlands, since 1928, when it was discovered by Egyptologists in the half-famed desert south of Cairo, a region known for its cult to the crocodile. The mummy was part of the museum's Egyptian exhibition and had already been subjected to multiple previous tests. Now, an advanced three-dimensional scanner from the company Interspectral has shown that, in addition, the babies were individually mummified before being introduced into the larger crocodile, also mummified. Mama crocodile was mummified with pieces of wood, flax plant stems, and rope. According to Leiden Museum researcher Laura Weiss, an X-ray scan in the 1990s showed that two smaller specimens were inside the main crocodile. At that time, it was thought that they were two children of the mother crocodile. In the tests that have been done previously, the presence of 50 babies could not be clearly distinguished. They simply seemed like two large lumps. Number 6. Shark arm case. In Australia, at Sydney's Coogee Aquarium and Swimming Bath, a tiger shark made headlines in 1935 when it reportedly regurgitated a human left arm amid a watching crowd. Days before the event, Bert Hobson, brother of Charles, the owner of the aquarium, was out fishing 3 kilometers from Coogee Beach in Sydney when he accidentally caught a tiger shark. Hobson took the 14-foot animal to the aquarium. A week later, on April 25, 1935, Bert Hobson announced the tiger shark's grand appearance to an aquarium full of people excited to witness the event. After a few minutes, and in the middle of the show, the shark began to make sudden movements, launching itself against the glass of the tank and swimming in circles faster and faster. Suddenly, in the midst of a dense foam that visitors described as reddish and black, the shark vomited a bird and presumably a human left arm, which couldn't be identified until the foam dispersed in the water. The arm had a particular tattoo of 2 boxers in a ring and a rope tied to the rest. However, it was free from shark bite marks. The aquarium was immediately evacuated and closed indefinitely while an investigation was carried out. A few days after the photo of the tattoo was made public, police reportedly received a call from James Smith's brother, a boxing bookie, thief, and police informant who had been missing for several weeks and was the owner of the arm that was inside the shark. Number 5. Python eats porcupine, instantly regrets it. Okay, so if you're afraid of snakes, this topic is not for you. But if you're afraid of porcupines, yeah, then it's not for you either. This video might be distressing for some people, you have been warned. On a hot summer day, a cyclist decided to go on a mountain bike trail at Lake Elan Game Reserve in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. He was definitely not prepared for what he would find on the side of the trail. He saw a snake that was unusually bloated but still alive. The animal was in bad shape, so the cyclist wanted to have someone check on it as soon as possible. He called the park rangers, who came to the site immediately. At first, they thought that the snake's eyes were bigger than its stomach and maybe it ate something a little larger than it could handle. So they took it to their wildlife sanctuary where vets could take care of it. But sadly, a week later, the snake passed away. That's when the doctors decided to cut the animal open to see the cause of its death, and that's when they saw a whole porcupine. No wonder the snake didn't make it. Look at those spikes. That python must have been starving to dare eat a porcupine. Number 4. 1883 Herald found inside sunfish. A group of researchers at the London Natural History Museum were busy restoring a 3-meter-long sunfish when they discovered something that nobody was expecting. It was a Sydney Morning Herald clipping from 1883. Now, a lot of questions beg to be asked. How did it end up inside the fish? And how come nobody's ever seen it before? And also, how come the clipping is still intact? The massive sunfish washed up at the Sydney Harbour back in 1882. The plot thickens. In fact, the astonishing animal was still alive when a crane had to be used to winch it ashore, but the poor creature was quickly hacked to death by cruel axe-wielding locals. They probably thought it was a monster, as the species was not well known by white people at the time. Eventually, the unfortunate sunfish ended up in London, and now it makes the headlines once more. Scientists at the museum are completely baffled. They simply cannot come up with an explanation as to who or why put the clipping inside the creature, along with straw and bits of old wooden floorboard. Was somebody being naughty or clumsy? Or was this all part of a ritual? What do you think? Number 3. Hard-to-swallow shark suffocates on porcupine fish. We've already seen a snake killed by a porcupine that it swallowed. Now let's look at what happens when a ginormous shark tries to snack on a porcupine fish. Much of the same, I'm afraid. Wouldn't it be terrifying if you could choke to death on your dinner? Well, that's the sad reality for sharks. This one suffocated on its prey, and the prickly mouthful got hooked halfway into the shark's gullet, which blocked its gills, making it impossible to breathe. But if you're thinking, whoa, what a lucky porcupine fish, not so fast. The unfortunate fish didn't survive this strange encounter either. I mean, it still got attacked and chewed on by a shark many times its own size. This unique and deadly clash took place on April 21, 2017 in the tropical waters near the Maldives. The island, located in the Indian Ocean, is famous for its paradisiacal beaches and turquoise waters, and also for the heavy presence of sharks. This one, in particular, was a young lemon shark, maybe too young to know better. Puffer fish can inflate their bodies when they feel threatened by quickly gulping water into their stomachs. They can blow up to several times their uninflated size, and when they do so, a number of deadly spines appear all over their bodies. That's most likely what happened here. Number 2. Plastic fork removed from Olive Ridley's nose. At this point, we all know that plastic items have a horrific impact on wildlife, especially in the oceans. In this case, it was a plastic fork. Plastic cutlery, whose use doesn't usually last more than a few hours, takes 400 years to completely degrade, a process during which they accumulate in marine ecosystems and cause serious problems to their inhabitants. This was the case of an Olive Ridley turtle that had a fork stuck in its nose, making it almost impossible for it to breathe correctly. In situations like these, without human intervention, the animal would die a rather painful and slow death, and all because of one meal that someone had. Thankfully, the turtle was intercepted at a beach by a group of Good Samaritans. They grabbed the animal, and with the help of a Swiss Army knife, they managed to carefully remove the foreign object from its nostril. It was lodged in there quite deeply, for sure. It was very painful for the turtle. The creature was in pain, and it was clearly terrified. But now she gets to live a healthy and long life. Let this be a lesson to us all. Never leave plastic items behind when you go to the beach. You never know where they might end up. Now it's time for today's topic. When a massive whale washed ashore on the shores of Oregon in early 2024, no one could have predicted what would be found inside. Marine biologists, curious about the creature's cause of death, began a thorough examination. As they opened the whale's stomach, they discovered something utterly astonishing, a rusted fishing hook dating back to the early 1800s. The artifact was unlike anything modern scientists had seen, suggesting that the whale had lived far longer than previously thought. With fishing techniques having changed dramatically over the centuries, the presence of such an old hook sparked theories that the whale could have been over 200 years old. As they delved further into the mystery, biologists and historians alike were left to wonder how such an ancient creature had managed to survive the dangers of the ocean for so long, carrying with it a piece of history deep within its massive body. Could this whale have witnessed moments in history that no other living creature could remember? The discovery has since ignited a wave of curiosity and intrigue around the longevity of these ocean giants. Number 1. Dog has 5 balls removed from stomach after swallowing them on walks. If you've ever owned a dog, you know that you always need to keep a close eye on them because they will literally eat anything and everything they find. And sometimes, when you get distracted for a fraction of a second, it might be too late. That's what happened to the owner of this adorable Springer Spaniel Labrador mixed pup. After her concerned owner noticed that she was acting rather lethargic and was rapidly losing weight over a few months, she thought that the pooch was having nothing more than an adverse reaction to its food. So, she changed the food brand, but nothing happened. At this point, everyone started to worry quite a bit and even panic. When they finally took the doggo to the vet, the x-rays showed that the misbehaving little fluffball had been eating not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 5 golf balls during his daily morning walks. It's no wonder he wasn't feeling great and why he wasn't eating that much. Imagine having 5 golf balls moving around in your stomach. His owner, Rebecca Miles, learned a valuable lesson. Dogs will eat anything and then get sick. And you can bet that if you often take your pooch around the golf course, he's going to eat every single ball he finds. As you can see, animals can contain all sorts of bizarre and fascinating things. Have you ever seen an animal swallow something unusual? Tell us about it in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out our other cool videos showing up on the screen right now. See you next time.